Section 2 of A Traveller's Narrative, written to illustrate the episode of the Bab. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Recording by Nicholas James Bridgewater. A Traveller's Narrative, written to illustrate the episode of the Bab, by Abdul-Baha Abbas, translated by Edward Granville Browne. Section 2. On the morning after that night, the Bab with Siyyid Kazim of Zanjan set out from Shiraz for Isfahan. Before reaching Isfahan, he wrote a letter to the Mu'tamid-ud-Dawla, the governor of the province, requesting a lodging in some suitable place with the sanction of the government. The governor appointed the mansion of the Imam Jum'ah. There he abode 40 days, and one day, agreeably to the request of the Imam, he wrote without reflection a commentary on the Surah of Wal Asr before the company. When this news reached the Mu'tamid, he sought an interview with him, and questioned him concerning the special mission. At that same interview, an answer proving the special mission was written. The Mu'tamid then gave orders that all the doctors should assemble and dispute with him in one conclave, and that the discussion should be faithfully recorded without alteration by the instrumentality of his private secretary, in order that it might be sent to Tehran, and that whatever the royal edict and decree should ordain might be carried out. The doctors, however, considering this arrangement as a weakening of the law, did not agree, but held a conclave and wrote, "If there be doubt in the matter, there is need of assembly and discussion, but as this person's disagreement with the most luminous law is clearer than the sun, therefore the best possible thing is to put in practice the sentence of the law." The Mu'tamid then desired to hold the assembled conference in his own presence, so that the actual truth might be disclosed, and hearts be at peace. But these learned doctors and honourable scholars, unwilling to bring the perspicuous law into contempt, did not approve discussion and controversy with a young merchant, with the exception of that most erudite sage, Agha Muhammad Mehdi, and that eminent Platonist, Mirza Hassan of Nur. So the conference terminated in questionings on certain points relating to the science of fundamental dogma, and the elucidation and analysis of the doctrines of Mullah Sadra. So, as no conclusion was arrived at by the governor from this conference, the severe sentence and harsh decision of the learned doctors was not carried out. But, anxious to abate the great anxiety quickly and prevent a public tumult effectually, he gave currency to a report that the decree had been issued ordering the Bab to be sent to Tehran, in order that some decisive settlement might be arrived at, or that some courageous divine might be able to confute him. He accordingly sent him forth from Isfahan, with a company of his own mounted bodyguard, but when they reached Murcheh Khar, he gave secret orders for his return to Isfahan, where he afforded him a refuge and asylum in his own roofed private quarters, and not a soul save the confidential and trusty dependents of the Mu'tamid knew aught of the Bab. A period of 4 months passed in this fashion, and the Mu'tamid passed away to the mercy of God. Gurgin Khan, the Mu'tamid's nephew, was aware of the Bab's being in the private apartments, and represented the matter to the Prime Minister. Haji Mirza Aghasi, the celebrated minister, issued a decisive command and gave instructions that they should send the Bab secretly in disguise under the escort of Nusayri horsemen to the capital. When he reached Kenargird, a fresh order came from the Prime Minister appointing the village of Kolain as an abode and dwelling place. There he remained for a period of 20 days. After that, the Bab forwarded a letter to the royal presence, craving audience to set forth the truth of his condition, expecting this to be a means for the attainment of great advantages. The Prime Minister did not admit this, and made representation to the royal presence. "The royal cavalcade is on the point of starting, and to engage in such matters as the present will conduce to the disruption of the kingdom. Neither is there any doubt that the most notable doctors of the capital also will behave after the fashion of the doctors of Isfahan, which thing will be the cause of a popular outbreak, or that, according to the religion of the Immaculate Imam, they will regard the blood of this Seyyid as of no account, yea, as more lawful than mother's milk. The imperial train is prepared for travel, neither is there hindrance or impediment in view. There is no doubt that the presence of the Bab will be the cause of the gravest trouble and the greatest mischief. Therefore, on the spur of the moment, the wisest plan is this: to place this person in the castle of Maku during the period of absence of the royal train from the seat of the imperial throne, and to defer the obtaining of an audience to the time of return." Agreeably to this view, a letter was issued addressed to the Bab in His Majesty's own handwriting, and, according to the traditional account of the tenor of this letter, the epitome thereof is this. After the titles, "Since the royal train is on the verge of departure from Tehran, to meet in a befitting manner is impossible. Do you go to Maku, and there abide and rest for a while, engaged in praying for our victorious state, and we have arranged that under all circumstances they shall show you attention and respect. When we return from travel we will summon you specially." After this they sent him off with several mounted guards, amongst them Muhammad Beg the courier, to Tabriz and Maku. Besides this, the followers of the Bab recount certain messages conveyed from him by the instrumentality of Muhammad Beg, amongst which was a promise to heal the foot of the late king, but on condition of an interview and the suppression of the tyranny of the majority, and the Prime Minister's prevention of the conveyance of these letters to the royal presence. But he himself laid claim to be a spiritual guide, and was prepared to perform the functions of religious directorship. But others deny these accounts. At all events, in the course of the journey, he wrote a letter to the Prime Minister, saying, "You summoned me from Isfahan to meet the doctors and for the attainment of a decisive settlement. What has happened now that this excellent intention has been changed for Maku and Tabriz?" Although he remained 40 days in the city of Tabriz, the learned doctors did not condescend to approach him, and did not deem it right to meet him. They then sent him off to the castle of Maku, and for 9 long months lodged him in the inaccessible castle which is situated on the summit of that lofty mountain. And Ali Khan of Maku, because of his excessive love for the family of the Prophet, paid him such attention as was possible, and gave permission to some persons to converse with him. Now when the accomplished divines of Azerbaijan perceived that in all the parts round about Tabriz it was as though the last day had come, by reason of the excessive clamour, they requested the government to punish the Bab's followers, and to remove the Bab to the castle of Chihriq. So they sent him to the castle and consigned him to the keeping of Yahya Khan the Kurd. Glory be to God! Notwithstanding these decisions of great doctors and reverend lawyers, and severe punishments and reprimands, beatings, banishments and imprisonments on the part of governors, this sect was daily on the increase, and the discussion and disputation was such that in meetings and assemblies in all parts of Persia there was no conversation but on this topic. Great was the commotion which arose. The doctors of the perspicuous religion were lamenting, the common folk clamorous and agitated, and the friends rejoicing and applauding. But the Bab himself attached no importance to this uproar and tumult, and alike on the road and in the castles of Maku and Chihriq, evening and morning, nay, day and night, in extremest rapture and amazement, he would restrict himself to repeating and meditating on the qualities and attributes of that absent yet present, regarded and regarding person of his. Thus he makes a mention of him, whereof this is the purport. Though the ocean of woe rageth on every side, and the bolts of fate follow in quick succession, and the darkness of griefs and afflictions invades soul and body, yet is my heart brightened by the remembrance of thy countenance, and my soul is as a rose garden from the perfume of thy nature. In short, after he had remained for 3 months in the castle of Chihriq, the eminent doctors of Tabriz and scholars of Azerbaijan wrote to Tehran and demanded a severe punishment in regard to the Bab for the intimidation and frightening of the people. When the Prime Minister Haji Mirza Aghasi beheld the ferment and clamour of the learned doctors in all districts of Persia, he perforce became their accomplice and ordered him to be brought from Chihriq to Tabriz. In the course of his transit by Urumiyye, the governor of the district, Qasim Mirza, treated him with extraordinary deference, and a strange flocking together of high and low was apparent. These conducted themselves with the utmost respectfulness. Section 2